Jesus has just made his amazing statement that before Abraham was, I am, and escaped a stoning in the temple. As he leaves with his disciples, they spot a blind man and ask him about the relationship between sin and misfortune, in this case, a disability. Jesus' reply, as always, is interesting. The relationship between sin and suffering is not simple, once you factor in all the different ways the Bible speaks about it. Jesus here denies that sin, either that of his parents or the man himself, had anything to do with his condition. The real reason God has allowed this lifelong disability is so that his works might be revealed in him. Paul makes a similar point in Romans 9 about the hard-heartedness of Pharaoh in Exodus. This man's defiance and cruelty was intensified by God in order that his glory might be shown through him. We also saw in Genesis how Joseph comes to understand his brother's treachery. It was ultimately not their doing, but God's, so that he might save them all and keep his promise to the patriarchs. We are still left with questions regarding suffering and the evil actions of others, especially when they appear to prevail. But Christians are aware that not everything is as it seems. As Joseph said, but God meant it for good. Another intriguing element of Jesus' reply before he heals the man is his reference to what I call middle time. He says, "We must work the works of him who sent me, while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." We see similar statements in the other Gospels, especially in the parable of the bridegroom in response to questions about fasting. With Jesus around, things are special and opportune, and there is much work to be done. This is the middle time. Before, with John the Baptist, it was a time of preparation. After Jesus, things will be considerably different, harder. For that time, Jesus here uses the metaphor of night. This is also a clever use of double meaning, referring to the blind man's condition. As Jesus is the light of the world, so this light will both metaphorically and literally bring light to this man. Because not only will he see for the first time, but when he sees the true light of the world, he will believe, and so light will enter his heart. But as the prologue stated, light came into the world, and the darkness did not understand it. The Pharisees, or at least some of them, continue to resist. They threaten this man and his parents with a severe punishment, expulsion from the synagogue. The pressure appears to work on his parents, but the man remains unbowed. In another piece of double meaning, this time with horrible irony, the Pharisees tell the man to give glory to God. The phrase means to confess and tell the truth, but all along in this gospel, Jesus has been bringing glory to God by doing his works. The reason this man was blind all his life was precisely for this purpose. The Pharisees want this man to do the exact opposite and denounce Jesus as a sinner. They are sure of this fact, for they say, "We know this man is a sinner." The man is not a theologian. All he can do, is offer his testimony. "I do not know whether he is a sinner. One thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." The Pharisees continue to press him for a condemnation, and they continue to state what they do and do not know. "We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he comes from." The man picks up on this repeated use of the word know, and though he is no theologian, gives them a brilliant reply. They don't know where Jesus comes from, yet he opened his eyes. That is a fact they have been forced to accept after interviewing his parents. Indeed, they had to move on to the question of whether he is a sinner. The man states the next thing that is known. God does not listen to sinners, but he does listen to the one who worships and obeys him. Now he emphasizes the uniqueness of the miracle, stating that it has never been heard of that a man born blind has been healed. Then the final point. Remembering that the Pharisees claimed they did not know where Jesus was from, the man says, "If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." The Pharisees do not take this well. Again, ironically, they respond to his good argument with an ad hominem attacking the person instead of engaging the argument. The irony is that they claim he was born in sin, referring to his birth condition of blindness, and so for this reason he has no authority to teach them. But the man can now see. What education is the equivalent? Jesus finds the man, having heard of his expulsion. He reveals himself to the man in the same way he did to the Samaritan woman. The man responds with worship. There is no doubt that he sees fully. The Pharisees ask Jesus whether he includes them in the category of the blind. Jesus gives another answer full of double meaning and irony. If you were blind, you would not have sin. But now that you say we see, your sin remains. The whole episode started because of the question of the relationship between sin and blindness. Jesus affirms that if they were blind, that would mean they did not have sin, rather than the common assumption that they did, if they were physically blind. But Jesus is of course talking about spiritual blindness. Again, building on the irony of the physical meaning, Jesus now reverses it again and says that because they claim to see, this proves they remain in sin. It seems as though there is a blindness that not even Jesus is able to heal.